Hello everyone, welcome to another vlog. So today we are going to talk about business schools and the applications. This is the application season. September is a busy month, all the round one deadlines. I think starting from Harvard on the 7th. All the R1 deadlines will be in September and the early part of October. So busy times for counselors, for students, for applicants. So a lot of you must be in the process of getting your applications ready, writing all the essays, getting the LORs done. For those who haven't yet started, who are maybe looking at round 2 or who've just taken the GMAT and are looking at some schools whose deadline is end of September, early October. Well, for you guys, how does one go about writing writing the essays basically, as simple as that. The model that I see most students follow and that I have a major problem with is what I call the checklist model. So a lot of counselors also follow that checklist model. So what happens is you have a checklist of things that you want to mention in your application. So there will be a box for GPAs, a box for GMAT, a box for leadership, a box for teamwork, a box for international experience. Now, you see, that is not the way to do the applications, because a lot of students follow this method, which is why all their essays, their applications end up looking the same. See, if I'm going through, applications from 20 different students and 15 of them have followed this checklist methodology, pretty much the essays look very, very generic, which is not the idea. You want the essay to stand out. So how do I recommend that you structure your application? You see, whenever you start, before you start writing, before you even look at any application essay question, you want to do some brainstorming. So what you do is, and that's what I do with my students. So what I want you to do is sit down in a quiet place with a pen and paper and make a list of all that you've done in your life till that point, in terms of academic achievements, in terms of work-related accomplishments. What I also want you to do at the end, and this is basically where I'm heading to, is jot down 3 to 5 adjectives. Yes, adjectives from sentence correction. So jot down 3 to 5 adjectives that you want the admission committee to associate with you. And don't make this up. The reason I made you do the earlier exercise where you list down all your achievements is so it becomes easier for you to spot these adjectives. You may not have paid attention to them. So don't make up these adjectives. These have to be a part of you. So 3 to 5 adjectives, it could be anything, could be silly things. Generic things like hardworking. I'm okay with it, right? Hardworking. If it applies to you, so be it. It could be something very, very unusual also. You love traveling, for example, traveling to or exploring unknown places, whatever it is. So 5 adjectives I think is a good number, and that's what you should start with, because those are the words you want the AdCom to associate with you. When they read through your application at the end, at a subconscious level, it is those words which should stand out. So then whatever you write, whatever the question is being asked in the application of that particular school, you are basically trying to structure the answers in such a way that these points get highlighted. So what you want to do is, once you've got these 3 or 5 adjectives, for each of them, jot down the examples where you have displayed these. So, the simple rule that you must follow for your, essays is show, don't tell. So don't tell me that you are hardworking. Show me when have you worked hard. Give me an example. So it has to be a very example-based, essay that you write. Even your letter of recommendation, and tell this to your recommenders, because a lot of the times, you would see, maybe you won't see. So a lot of the time what happens is the recommender ends up praising you big time, praising you to the skies, but very generic things. If the recommender is saying, John is very, very analytical. Let him give an example of how he knows that. When have I shown my analytical bent of mind? So it has to be a very example-based, construction of all your essays, your LORs, everything. And the examples should be of those 5 or 6 adjectives that you've jotted down. So those adjectives basically give cohesion to your application. Otherwise, what happens is the application ends up looking very disconnected, very random. as separate points, which is what you're doing. If you're following the checklist method, you will realize, oh, I have missed out talking about social work. Let's put it here. I've missed out talking about leadership. Let's put it here. So then the whole thing does not look one, and that cohesion is very, very important. Consciously, nobody notices that, but subconsciously, the AdCom will be able to spot that. So to bring about the cohesion, start with the adjective philosophy that I said. Jot down the adjectives, start from there, and let your entire profile revolve around those adjectives. Be it your essays, be it your CV, be it your LORs, and that will automatically happen unless you're making up the adjectives. If you're making it up, then one of the adjectives to describe you could be fake, honestly. But so don't make it up. I mean, there's nothing to be ashamed of. You are what you are. I am what I am. And this is, you see, I mean, you should trust the AdComs that much. I mean, you should have faith in the AdCom's ability to decide whether you are a good fit for the school. So I will tell them all that is there to know about me, that I think makes me stand out. And then I will trust their judgment. If they don't take me, it's not a reflection of, my intelligence level or my capabilities. It's just that they did not think I was good enough, and I, would respect their judgment for it. It's best for me also, maybe, that I don't go to a school where I'm not a good fit. Yeah, so be a little mature about it. It's never easy being, rejected, but don't think of it as a rejection. I mean, if you've done your best and for whatever reason you did not get through to a particular school, you'll get through to another one. I mean, and that will be good for you. I tell everybody, if you get into a Stanford and you are at the bottom of your batch, it's much better to get into a slightly lower rung school like a Marshall and be at the top of your batch. You'll probably get a much better job or just perform much better in your career. So don't have this brand fixation. But now I have gone on a different tangent. So the brand fixation we will talk about in a different vlog. Today's vlog, one more thing I want to discuss is, in fact, two more things, are two interesting cases that have come in front of me in the last few days. The first case is of a student who took the GMAT and got a 730. Now he called me up the other day and we were having a chat and I congratulated him. 730 is a very, very good score. But the thing that he said is that I did not prepare at all. He said he had no time. He took exactly one practice test. So yeah, no, he's not an alien, but there are students like that who are naturally good and who don't honestly need to prepare to get a good score. There are a few such students. He is one of them. Now the question he had is, since without doing any preparation I've got a 730, should I retake? Should I retake and maybe get a 770, 780? Now, normally if somebody asks me a 730, should I retake? I would say get lost. There's no point. Even if you retake, your score will maybe go up by 20 points. Wouldn't matter much. Now, in this particular case, on the other hand, I told him it might be a good idea to retake. Because he hasn't done any preparation. He doesn't maybe need to. Maybe he doesn't need to go through the OGs and do all the stuff that the rest of us do. But, you need to take a few practice tests. The test taking practice is very, very, very important. So all I've suggested to him is, maybe give it 3 weeks, take 5 or 6 more tests, take the GMAT preps, use the OG maybe to do a bit of practice. Because the guy is naturally good. And if he can get to a 770 or a 780, then that's definitely better than a 730. So normally I think it's a bad idea retaking at a 730 because it's very possible that in the retake, your score actually goes down. I've seen that happen enough times. In fact, most of the time when you retake with a 680 or more in your first attempt, your score goes down. It's just something I've observed. But in his case, I think it might go up because he hasn't done any practice, any prep. That's an interesting, situation where you get a 730 without doing any kind of preparation. And I've heard of a few such cases earlier also. So that was the first case I wanted to talk to you guys about. Here's a little more interesting one, where a student has got a 700, and I think she will struggle to get into most of the top schools. Normally, if you've seen my videos or if you've read my vlogs, I always say, anything above 680 is decent if you ask me, to apply to any school you want to. But in her case, I think even with a 700, she will struggle to get into most of the top schools. She's incidentally looking at a school in India. She is from India, and she is looking at this school called the Indian School of Business, which is a very, very good school, but it's a very, very quant heavy school. It's a very analytical school. It's like a Wharton or a Chicago. Um, and the problem with her, why 700 will not be enough, is her breakup of the math English score. So she has a 42 in math and a 42 in English. And that's a very weird score. I mean, a 42 in math is terrible, and a 42 in English is phenomenal. So overall, she got a 700, but the quant score is very, very low. A 42 in quant is not good, especially at schools which focus on on quant a lot as part of the course, like the ISB does. So then, she asked me, what should I do? Because now she was submitting her application. The suggestion I've made to her is, in such a situation, because retaking idly is not a good idea. This was a retake, by the way. She had a 610 earlier with a 34 in math. She retook and she got a 42. But I think it's just a mental block sort of thing. She's good in math, but it's just that she struggles on the actual test because she's got this in her head that I'm weak in math. And it's always been the case. I mean, when I checked her background, her school days, college days, she's always been not very good in math. And so what I told her to do in the application essay is you have this additional essay where you can highlight things that you haven't spoken about earlier, or where you can address any mitigating circumstances. What I've told her is you can address your quant score in two ways. One, if you've got good quant scores earlier, maybe in college or in school, or you've done some other activity which shows that you're very comfortable with numbers, highlight that. Now that was not the case with her. She's always been bad with numbers. So then what I suggested is there's no running away from it. When you have to accept it, that it's not your strongest point. And what you then do is, you try to highlight things which will comfort the AdCom and reassure them into thinking that, okay, this person will be able to cope with all the quant pressure that we might or our course might put on her. And how do you do that? Give examples. So in that particular essay, don't specifically, so give subtle hints. Don't specifically mention, okay, you think I'm bad in quant, but I will make sure that I do well in quant. Don't do things like that. But you give subtle hints. You give examples from your life, your career, where you were faced with a situation where, you were in an unfamiliar territory, doing things that you did not like or you were not good at, and how you coped with that. How you manage that. Because that can be extrapolated to this situation. And the AdCom is very, very intelligent. They can make out those subtle hints you give. So don't very openly, go and say that, yes, I'm bad at math and that's the way it is, take me or leave me. They will leave you, rest assured. So you have to be very, very subtle about it. Give enough examples, enough hints to show that she will be able to cope with, the fact that she's not maybe very good with numbers. So that's the right way to address that problem. So we saw in today's vlog two interesting cases of students, both of whom have their own set of worries, and we saw how you should go about structuring your application essay. So I think that should be about it for today's vlog. Have a nice weekend, all of you, though I will be seeing you tomorrow. As I said, one vlog every day. So I'll see you guys tomorrow. Until then, have a nice day. Bye-bye.